lose weight, cure psoriasis, cure cancer, cure irritable bowel syndrome, cure fibromyalgia, depression, anxiety, irritable bowel syndrome. Did I already say that? Chronic pain, sleep apnea, chronic fatigue. Science doesn't recognize the carnivore way of eating as a cure for any of those conditions. But you only have to go on social media and see there are thousands of people who have cured or at least lessened the symptoms of all of those conditions. And you've seen some of those people, and now you're here to learn about how you can start the carnivore way of eating and integrate that into your lifestyle. Hey there, I'm Rod. Welcome to Stay Strong, Live Long. And today we're going to talk about how you can get started eating the carnivore way. The first thing is listen to doctors. Don't listen to your family. Don't listen to your friends. Don't listen to anyone else that says, oh, that's rubbish. Go and check out what some doctors say. And some of these people have been following this way of eating and teaching their patients this way of eating for many, many years, some even decades. Dr. Ken Berry, Dr. Sean Baker, Dr. Robert Kiltz, Dr. Tony Hampton, Dr. Filippo Vardia, Dr. Anthony Chafee, Dr. Lisa Weideman. I'll put links to all those doctors' YouTube channels and social media in the video description. Go and check them out. So how do you get started eating this way? Well, there's a lot of different ways you can get started, so I'm just going to tell you how I got started. I went pretty much cold turkey. So from one day to the next, I started eating just meat and some dairy. So chicken, beef, lamb, pork. I did start with some cream, butter, eggs, and some cheese. Sardines as well, salt, and I also kept in some seasonings. I kept in diet soft drinks for a little while, for a couple of months, and eventually eliminated those too. And that's how I got started. And to begin with, I kept it really simple. So I used ground beef, or mince as we call it here in Australia, and I would just fry that in some tallow, sometimes adding eggs and scramble that, add in some salt, and just eat that. It was a pretty kind of boring meal, but that's how I got started because it was simple and it was quick. And the reality is that I really hadn't been doing much cooking in the last couple of years, so I didn't feel like I had a lot in my repertoire, and I needed to be able to cook things quickly. I didn't want to be spending a whole lot of time in the kitchen. My advice is to pick foods that you really like and dishes that are simple and quick to make that you are likely to enjoy and continue to enjoy for a period of time. If you're on a budget, then go with the cheap cuts. For us here in Australia, that's usually pork and chicken. If you can stretch your budget a bit further, then go with as much of the ruminant meats as you can, meaning beef, mutton, lamb, venison, goat. If you're someone that likes to fast, then do that. So keep your fasting in place. I've been doing intermittent fasting for a number of years. So my last meal of the day is generally around 6:30. And then I don't eat until 12 the next day. So I have about an 18-hour window between when I stop eating and when I begin to eat again. But if you are not already someone who fasts, then you don't need to start fasting if you are starting with the carnivore way of eating. You don't need to track your calories. Just eat until you are comfortably stuffed. Now, it can take a little while to get used to this. When I first started, I had no idea whether I was full or not. It just felt like I could eat a lot and didn't know if I was actually full. And I would often stop before I was completely satisfied because I was used to the feeling of satiety that comes from eating a lot of carbohydrates. So I used to eat a lot of fruit, a lot of vegetables, pasta, smoothies, that kind of thing. And I was used to how it felt when I was eating that kind of food and how I felt full. So eat until you are comfortably stuffed, and then don't eat again until you're hungry. Some of the problems that you might encounter are going to be sweet cravings. If you're someone who has been consuming a lot of carbohydrates, especially a lot of refined carbohydrates that very quickly get converted into sugar in your bloodstream and the associated sugar rush that goes with that, you're probably going to have some sweet cravings that you will have to work through. I had to work through those over a couple of months. So the first couple of weeks were a little bit rough. I kept in artificially sweetened sodas for a period of time. And then after about a month and a half, I realized that by keeping those things in, I wasn't really curing my sweetness addiction. And so I just eliminated those, went through whatever I needed to go through as far as withdrawals go, and replaced that with butter or ghee or tallow as something that I could consume if I really felt like I wanted something sweet. And eventually the cravings just went away. You might have some issues with your bowel. So that can mean diarrhea, it can mean constipation. And that's pretty normal. So when you are switching from a diet that has a lot of fiber in it to one that doesn't have any at all, and you're switching from a diet that has a lot of carbohydrates in it to one that has a lot of fat and a lot of protein, then there's a change that's going to have to occur within your gut microbiome. Certain enzymes are going to have to ramp up, other enzymes are going to have to ramp down, Bacteria that relied on carbohydrates are going to die off, and other bacteria that are happier in a higher protein, higher fat environment are going to increase. And by about week 3, I was pretty much converted over, and I went from having 1 to 2 bowel movements a day to now 2, maybe 3 in a week. And they are always comfortable, always an excellent consistency. Some people experience what is commonly termed as the keto flu, especially if you went, from your standard American, standard Australian diet straight into doing the carnivore diet. And that's pretty normal. If you consume additional electrolytes, that can really help with that a lot. So additional salt, additional magnesium, additional potassium. I've gradually reduced my intake of dairy over time. I'm actually not certain whether dairy is somewhat inflammatory for me. I've kept in a little bit of cheese, but I don't consume it anywhere near as much as what I used to. So rather than having some every day, I just have some every few days. I got rid of cream because I was binging on that, and that was feeding my addiction. So I've just completely eliminated that for a period of time. And now if a dish appears, especially at a social occasion that's got cream on it, I'll have it then, but I won't keep it in my house, at least not for now. If you're wanting to eat this way because you're wanting to lose some weight and your weight loss is stalled, then eliminating dairy is one option that you might want to consider. And also just increasing the amount of fat you're eating. So don't be afraid of fat. The fattier cuts of meat that you can consume, the better. And don't believe everything that mainstream media and mainstream health organizations tell us about cholesterol. Cholesterol is an essential building block for so many things in our body, for our hormones, for our blood cells, for our brain. And we've been fed information to say that cholesterol is bad. Go and do your research, follow the evidence, and you'll find that that's not actually the case. And there is still so much that we need to learn there. Even doctors like Dr. Ken Berry, who's been consulting with his patients about eating this way for a decade or more. So he started with educating people about keto diet and then moving to carnivore. He still will readily admit that we don't know everything that we think we know about measuring our blood cholesterol and our lipid levels, and that by paying a lot of attention to that, we might actually be doing ourselves a disservice. And to look at the outcomes for your health. So even if you have high cholesterol levels and you choose to go and get them measured, but you are feeling fantastic, you're losing weight, you're sleeping well, you're moving well, your skin is clear, your mind is clear, all those outcomes are all positive, but a measurement says that, well, you've got high cholesterol, therefore that's a problem. You've really got to ask yourself, there's a bit of a disconnect here, isn't there? Here I am feeling great over here, and here I am over here with this doctor telling me that these results aren't good. If you are going to put any stock into your blood results with your doctor, then at least talk to a doctor who understands the current research and the connection between good health and a high fat intake in your diet. Be persistent, do this for you, go your own way, be part of the community, stick with it.